Welcome to How to Deal When the Shit Gets Real podcast. I'm Rietta, and today I am here with Elizabeth Aguilera. So, Elizabeth, how do you deal when the shit gets real? Or just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I do the best I can every day and try not to get too overwhelmed by what's going on. That's how I deal, is just saying, this is solvable and I just have to figure it out. So why deal with it twice, right? Getting upset about it and then calming down and dealing with it, or just calming down and then saying, like, I can do this. So I am Elizabeth Aguilera. I spent 30 years in corporate IT before my job took an unexpected turn and it was sent overseas to India while I was sitting on a beach in Jamaica. So it was shock. Yes, it was shocking. But it became the gift that liberated me to pursue my true calling. And now I'm a certified coach who helps women and men break free from the nightmare of narcissistic abuse. And the reason this is so important to me is because I was in relationships with back-to-back narcissists when I was younger. And first, an overt narcissist from the ages of 16 to 32. And then after I was divorced I met a covert narcissist. And that was a relationship for about a year. And I vowed I will never go through this again. I told myself, I can't trust myself. My picker's broken. I put up walls. I became hyper independent. And I said, I don't need anyone. I just don't. And those walls did keep me safe from predators, but it also kept the love that I wanted from ever finding me. And so I don't want anyone to walk this lonely, confusing, and painful path with a narcissist by themselves like I did. And narcissists come in all genders, and there are many types, and both men and women are vulnerable to this happening to them. And I'm just so happy that we have this time today to arm your audience with valuable information so they can sidestep the pain and the drama in their lives.
Yeah, me too. And I think you're the first person that's actually mentioned different types of narcissism, the overt and the covert. So can you talk more about that?
Yeah, I'd love to. So those are the two most popular kinds. There are others, but so the overt or the grandiose or narcissist is the one that's really out there. If you're watching for the signs, you'll see they're loud, they're brash, they toot their own horns and they tell you how great they are. And so if you're sort of tuned in to what's going on and what they're doing and saying, you can kind of see them. A covert narcissist or a vulnerable narcissist is more dangerous because they hide behind a mask of being maybe shy, introverted. They're not loud, they're quiet, but they're still a narcissist. And in the end, they have the same MO, power and control over you, but they go about it differently. So you can fall into their trap of a covert narcissist because you think, oh, I'm safe. Like I know the signs. I know what to look out for. These are not the signs. I feel safe with this person, but you're just caught up in their web just as easily. And then the other two that are common are the malignant narcissist, which is quite dangerous. They love revenge. They're very vengeful and they love to inflict pain on you. They do. And the other one is a communal narcissist, and they're sort of a do-gooder. They love to be helpful and to be the best volunteer and person out there in the community. But what they do, when they do something, they want to be recognized for it. They're not just doing it out of the goodness of their heart. They want recognition for it. So, and it's funny because a narcissist can sort of weave through all of these types. They're not just going to be one type. Depending on what is best for them in any particular moment. They can be malignant, they can be the covert, they can be the overt, they can, they can sort of shapeshift and sort of go into the different types as needed.
That makes sense because it makes it even easier for them to manipulate you if they're changing up their style of how they're manipulating you.
Yeah, that's why it's so important that we're talking today and educating people. It's not just, black and white. It's not that simple. It's nuanced, it's subtle. But the more education and knowledge, awareness that we have, then the better off we all are.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I know you said it's not very black and white, but what are some common tactics or hooks that narcissists use that the listeners can look out for?
Yeah. So what's nice is they have a playbook. And if you get to understand and know the playbook, then you can win this horrific game, right? And only in that you're aware. You are not a lamb being led to the slaughter. You are not a babe in the woods. It's not like you're this person who has absolutely no idea, which most of us are. When we meet the narcissist, we just have no idea of what's going on. And so once you sort of understand their tactics, it gets easier to identify their patterns. And they love something called love bombing. They start with this, and that's when they overwhelm you when they first meet you with attention, affection, gifts, compliments. They turn on the charm. They can be extremely charming. They want to dazzle you, make you fall for them quickly. And they do really present as your Prince Charming and everything you've been looking for. You just feel, oh my goodness, aren't I lucky? And they want to take that the advantage of that initial stage where you're wearing rose-colored glasses. And so you excuse their questionable behavior. Things are going so great, you don't want to rock the boat. And another thing that they use is speed. So they move very fast in the relationship. They start talking about a future together before you really know each other. That's called future faking. They want to move quickly, so you're invested in the relationship before you see the red flags. They make promises of a wonderful future together. They create an intense emotional bond quickly, and they push for commitment before you can decide if this is even right for you. And then once you're invested in the relationship, the next tactic is devaluing. So after giving you all this affection, you're on cloud 9, everything seems to be going great. They become distant. They stop texting. They stop calling like they did. They might give backhanded compliments. And all of a sudden, you're like, what happened? Everything was going so well. Did I do something wrong? The answer is no. You didn't do anything wrong. This is a tactic. And what they're trying to do is create a dependence where you crave their approval. And devaluing is actually the start of a trauma bond. And so they want to make you question yourself or make you feel like you did something wrong so that you can spin your wheels trying to get back to where you were and get back in their good graces. And all these things happen so slowly over time that you're falling into their trap and you don't even know it. And so let's talk about the trauma bond because that's important. That's another tactic. And so the trauma bond forms when the narcissist alternates between being kind and cruel. And you never know who's going to show up. And so your mind is always looking for them to show up as nice. And the brain over time gets rewired to get rewarded with a dopamine hit when they show up as nice. It's an actual chemical that's released in your brain. And so this dopamine hit, it's similar to what a drug user gets, like a high. And so over time, the brain is rewired incorrectly to associate them being nice with the dopamine hit. You unknowingly are becoming addicted to a toxic cycle of abuse. You are not addicted to the person. Your brain is addicted to the dopamine hit. That's a huge difference. And because a lot of people will say, I'm addicted to this person. I can't get away from this person. I'm tied to this person. And that's not it at all. It's not the person. Your brain has just been rewired. And another tactic is gaslighting, where they actually make you doubt your reality. They rewrite the past. They challenge your memories and your own perception. You know something happened. You know something was said. You know exactly what went down and or didn't, but they will say that didn't happen. You're just imagining things, and you get so confused, and you're just, well, can I trust myself? Like, what's going on? It's a psychological manipulation is what it is, gaslighting. And they use that to control, confuse, and break you down so they can maintain that power over you. Again, they're always trying to establish dominance and power over you. And it's cruel what they do. It's cruel. It's intentional. And we have to know about these tactics. There are others as well, but these tactics are some of their most common. And we have to be aware of what's going on so that we can defend against them.
Yeah. I mean, and you just gave some great examples that people can cling on to. So thank you for that. I'm always left wondering anytime I talk to somebody that talks about narcissistic abuse, like, why are these people the way they are? Like, is it their brain? Were they taught this? Like, I always want to know, like, why. And
Yeah. Well, yes, they had traumas in their past, but we all have. There's not one person on this earth that's not had trauma. It's a choice that they make on how to deal with whatever it is that happened to them. And so they get wired to be this person who needs constant power and control over others to feed their ego. Other people, they go through a trauma and difficulty, and they become people pleasers, right? They become
yep.
perfectionists, and they go a different route. And so I don't know what makes one person go one way and one person go the other. But yes, hurt people, as the saying goes.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't really concentrate on how they became how they are, so much as how to deal with rebuilding people that they have targeted and hurt and decimated. Because narcissistic abuse is the emotional and psychological abuse of a person, and it systematically chips away at their self-esteem and their confidence, and this is done deliberately.
Yeah, it is. I myself too was in a relationship at one point with somebody that was a narcissist, and then there is a TV show that came out recently called Tell Me Lies, and it was crazy to see how well they portrayed somebody who is a narcissist. So I always tell people if they want a real like visualization of what a narcissist looks like, they should watch that show because they did it dead on, in my opinion.
Wow, that's good to know.
Yeah, if you ever want a visualization, which I'm sure you don't need one because you've been there. And I'm sure that has a lot to do with your passion for this topic now, is like you just don't want people to go through what you went through.
Absolutely not. When I went through it in the 1980s, there was no term narcissist the way there is now. I just knew it was toxic, but toxic on steroids. Nobody around me was going through anything like this, and people were going through divorces, and they had bad relationships, and they parted and went on with their lives. Nobody was dealing with what I was dealing with to this extent. And also, there's a lot of shame that you feel when you are the target of a narcissist and you find yourself in this relationship. Um, what does it feel like to be in a relationship with a narcissist? It's you don't have control of your emotions. You don't trust yourself. You find it hard to make decisions. You put the narcissist above yourself. You are trained not to have needs of your own, flat out. You don't have time for yourself. You don't have self-care. Everything you do is for them. Everything you do is to regulate them. You feel confused, off-centered, insecure. You are dependent on them for approval and validation. You're lonely and isolated because that's another tactic, isolating you from your family and friends. And you don't feel safe with them. You can't be yourself, and you don't feel accepted and loved. And you are walking on eggshells all the time, taking the temperature of the room all the time. And all you want is peace, and all they want is drama and chaos. You can never have peace with them.
Yeah.
Because something that they love is called narcissistic supply. So narcissistic supply is your emotions, your reactions, your life force, your energy. So they either crave compliments and attention and telling them how great they are. And if things are going too smoothly, they will create chaos and drama and fights, and they will create something out of nothing to get you to react, and they love it. It's oxygen to them.
Was there, since there wasn't a term for it when you were going through it, was there a sense of satisfaction when you finally came across the word narcissism and you were like, ah,
With
okay, this is what happened to me?
without a doubt. And I only found that word narcissist and narcissistic abuse rather recently. It's only within the last 3 years. And I have been going through this and went, since the 1980s. So it's quite a long time. And I can't tell you how fulfilling, satisfying it was to be able to put a name to what I went through,
Yeah.
because I didn't have that word and I didn't know what it was. And as I studied and became more knowledgeable and aware of everything, just like you, and watching that show that just was a huge light bulb moment for you, where it's like all of this resonates so deeply to me. Like this is what it was. This is what it looks like. This is what I went through. It's very comforting to know you're not alone, because so many of us feel like we're the only ones who are going through this. Narcissistic abuse is often a silent secret. There's so much shame. You don't know how you got in this place. I don't know how I got here. I can't explain it to myself. So how can I explain it to anybody else? I'm
Mm-hmm.
smart. I have it going on in other areas of my life. Um, I know better. How did this happen? I, I I don't know for the life of me. How did this happen? And so it is a silent secret, and um, it can't be a silent secret anymore. We
Mm-hmm.
have to talk about it. We have to expose the narcissist and what they do and the danger that they inflict, so that we are armed with the information that we need, so we can just sidestep them and see them from a mile away.
I mean, you really did hit the nail on the head there. I think that's a lot of people's struggle is like, I don't even know how to explain this to myself. How am I supposed to tell anybody else what I'm going through? Because a lot of times, at least I know I felt that way. Like you feel crazy. So like if you try to
Oh,
explain it to somebody else, you're afraid the other person is just going to be like, "What? You're crazy."
absolutely. There was nobody I could tell the extent of what was going on, because they didn't understand. I knew they couldn't understand. I mean, and as I said, I didn't even understand how
Mm-hmm.
this was happening. And because it's emotional and psychological abuse. It's not that easy to, somebody, they just say, well, get out. Well, he's a jerk, just, or she, because women and men go through this. Leave, just get out. And because there are other things at play, it's not always so easy to get out. Many times, people try to leave many times before they can successfully break. The narcissist loves to do something called hoover, which means suck you back like a vacuum. They suck you back in to the relationship. So if you do break, then the love bombing starts all over again. And the I'm sorry, and I promise it's never going to happen again. And I know better now. And I love you, and I'll do better now. And the love bombing begins. And then you fall for it. And you say, okay, because you take them at their word because you're normal. And if someone says something, well, then, okay, it must be true. But a narcissist does not love. They certainly don't love the way you do. You show up with pure intentions. You show up authentically. They always have a hidden agenda. They don't know what love is because they see you and they see what you can do for them.
Yes.
It's all about what they can get from you and about that narcissistic supply. I mean, this sounds very harsh, but it is true. They don't even see you as a human. You are a means to an end for them. So it's all about narcissistic supply and what they can get from you. It's never about you. So you may have been in love with them. They don't know what love is. And so I assure you, they were never in love with you because love does not hurt or inflict pain on purpose. That is not love. What you went through wasn't love anyway, because they created an illusion of who they knew you wanted them to be. They're very astute at finding out all about you and your vulnerabilities and what you want and what you love. And they find all this information out about you, and then they use that against you. So they're very good at manipulation and lies and control, and they will go to great lengths to have all of those things over you. I call it it's a sick dance of domination. They always want to have the upper hand in every situation.
Yeah, they do. I mean, you're not kidding that they won't go through anything. My ex threatened to like jump off the balcony if I was going to break up with him. Like just crazy stuff where you're like, "Oh my god, I can't have him dying." Like because I broke up with him, like, but that's what they do. They go to that extreme.
Yes, they will. And they will say anything, they will do anything to get what they want. And it's most probable that somebody who has been with a narcissist is an empath. An empath is someone who is
I'm an empath.
Yeah. I mean, there is it's like it's like magnets be attracted to each other, the empath and the narcissist. It's an unhealthy relationship, but the narcissist feeds off of the empath, and the empath is a loving person, supportive, wants to help, and that's the narcissistic supply that they're looking for. So you're giving to them, they're taking from you, and it sort of suits both parties in a very unhealthy way. I call it a parasite. You are the host, they are the parasite, and they feed off of you, for sure.
No, that's a good explanation for sure. They will take every little molecule they can from you.
Everything. You will give everything you have, thinking this is This is what love looks like. This is what they want. So let me give it to them. Maybe this will be enough. Maybe if they're I give them this. And so you give and you give and you give and you give. And that is unsustainable for anyone. And
Mm-hmm.
also, they don't allow you to recharge. They don't allow you to reset. They don't allow you to take a break and to pour into yourself. That's just simply not allowed. There's no time for you to invest in yourself because you're too busy investing in them. And
Mm-hmm.
so, if you don't recharge and the energy is always going out and nothing good is coming in, they will take until there are dry, brittle bones. They just will.
Yeah, they absolutely will. Which is why I love that you mentioned in your pre-interview becoming emotionally bulletproof. I love that term. So what does that mean to you and why is that so important?
Yeah, well, so I say that my mission is to make women and men emotionally bulletproof after narcissistic abuse so they can deal with the narcissist on their own terms and fast track getting their lives back. And becoming emotionally bulletproof means you take your power back. So they are no longer pushing your buttons, making you react so you look like the problem, and they're no
Mhm.
longer pulling the strings in your life. So you're no longer playing into their hands. So a narcissist, they will trigger you. They will bait you. They will start fights. So you have to defend yourself. And it's all in an effort to get you to engage. Um, any engagement with them is that narcissistic supply that we talked about. This is oxygen to them. If they can get you to react, to go from 0 to 60 in the blink of an eye, they get exactly what they want. You become
Mhm.
unhinged. You look like the crazy person. They call you the narcissist and you're the abuser. And they sit back and they enjoy the chaos and the drama they just stirred up. So they know how to provoke you, and it's all a game, and you are a pawn. And so becoming emotionally bulletproof means you can master your emotions and not get caught up in this game.
Love it. I mean, so important. I mean, it's hard because we're very emotional people, right? It's hard not to
Absolutely. Oh,
react emotionally.
this is not easy. You may very well have to leave the room, go to the bathroom, take deep breaths, go into some deep breathing, calm your nervous system. You may have to go for a walk. You may have to just disengage in any healthy way that you can so that you can center yourself, because you don't even know it, but living with a narcissist keeps you in fight or flight. You're in survival mode every day, and you cannot make good decisions from fight or flight. You cannot respond the way you want to from fight or flight. And so giving yourself that pause, that time to breathe, center yourself, and then come back and respond. And the response might be, I'm not having this conversation right now. I'll get back to you on that. Or whatever your response is, but it'll be a measured response and something that feels good to you, and you're not playing into their hand, and which yes is everybody's default. Like, I have to defend myself against this craziness that he just stirred up. If you know that this is a tactic, their job is to bait you, and their job is to trigger you for their own needs. They want narcissistic supply. If you become the master of your emotions, you will take the wind out of their sails, and they can't get a rise out of you, and they lose interest.
There you go. But it is. It's not easy to do, but I'm glad you pointed all that out because it's super important.
Yeah.
So since we talked about being emotionally bulletproof for people that have already been through it, unfortunately, and are trying to heal, what are some steps that they can take to start healing?
Yeah. I think the first thing on that healing journey that I would love everyone to know is it's not your fault. What you went through is not your fault. You were targeted, manipulated, and conditioned, and there's nothing you could have done to prevent what happened with the awareness you had back then. But you can change your future with the awareness you build now. And what's foundational to your healing is self-love. And I mean radical self-love. That is the antidote to narcissistic abuse. Without self-love, you won't be able to stand up for yourself. You won't know who you are. Without self-love, you won't have the strength to stand up to them. And so it's critical that you pour into yourself, accept yourself where you are right now, flaws and all, without condition, knowing you are a beautiful work in progress, and to ask yourself and check in with yourself all the time, like, what do I need right now? Just check in with yourself and give yourself that thing. Maybe you need to take a walk. Maybe you just need to drink some water. Maybe you need to cook or bake something, if that's what you love to do. Maybe you want to go garden and buy yourself some flowers. Whatever that thing is that you love to do, you have to get comfortable giving that to yourself. Because remember, you were conditioned and trained not to take care of yourself, not to have time for yourself, not to think of yourself or your needs. But it's normal and human. Of course you have needs, and you're the only one who knows what you need. And so you have to check in with yourself and give yourself exactly that. And so it's giving yourself permission to do things just for you, which is a completely foreign concept to someone who's getting out of a narcissistic relationship, because it's always been about the other person. And it actually feels strange. Like you'll have some time and you're like, okay, well, what do I do with my time? And the thought of pouring into yourself is just so strange in the beginning that it's uncomfortable, but it's required for you to get reconnected to yourself. And again, to give yourself what it is that you need in that moment and in several moments in the day. And so I love to tell people to create a joy list, write down things you love, big
I like
and
that.
yeah. Write down everything you love, big or small. It could just be a bath with some candles, or it could be, treating myself to a nice meal. Maybe I want an ice cream cone. Like how big or small, it doesn't matter, right? So it's what would you love? And do something from that list every day just for yourself. And so the other thing on that healing journey is going no contact. So if you can, sometimes you're co-parenting and you can't go no contact, but you can go low contact. So it's very important that you block them, unfollow them, avoid places they frequent. You want to minimize your connection with them as much as possible. If you have to have contact with them, establish strict boundaries. And I would suggest only communicate by email. Email gives you a trail of what they said, and that can keep things very clear for you, because the narcissist will say many different things and then renege on what they said or say they didn't say it. But if you have a paper trail of the communication between the two of you, it keeps things much more on track, and it's documentation that you might need in the future. And understand the patterns that have been at play in your life. Understanding the trauma bond, understanding the tactics that they use, and being able to see, now I see what was happening. Now I see the different stages. Now I see, what they were doing, trying trying to get me back, trying to love bomb me, trying to devalue me. And you'll see things from a different perspective, and you'll be able to see the tactics that they were using and understand their patterns. And there is a hard truth that those of us who have been in a narcissistic relationship, I think, have to face. And that is that you were in love with an illusion and the person you fell for doesn't exist. They showed themselves to be exactly what you wanted them to be.
Mm-hmm.
And who they were was the nightmare of a person they showed themselves to be. That was the true version of them. And so you won't be able to fix this. You won't be able to change them. The only thing you can do is choose yourself and get out.
Yep. Really, that's it. I mean, and I know we're making it sound simple, but we also said earlier it's not simple. But yeah, when it comes down to it, the end stories, you have to get out.
You do. There is no thing you can do that's going to change this. I have seen people in relationships 20, 30 plus years. They were in silent shame, protecting the narcissist, and not able to protect themselves. And I don't want anyone to go through that kind of suffering and waste those years that they will never get back. So
Yeah.
the quicker that we can understand what's going on, face the truth of what's going on, and then deal with it, the quicker you'll be free of it, and then you can create the life you deserve.
Yeah. And we all deserve an amazing life. And that's
Without a
something
doubt.
else. Yeah. And that's something else you mentioned in your pre-interview, which I really like too, is finding your soul's purpose.
Mm.
So how can somebody find their soul purpose and begin to align with that?
Well, for me, the key to finding my soul's purpose was paying attention to those thoughts of, this can't be it. Is this all there is? There has to be
Is
more.
that all there is?
Yeah, there has to be more. There was a nagging feeling, a longing, and a discontent. That longing and discontent is your soul calling for more. And the only way we can step into our soul's purpose is to get curious about, what would I love? And we never ask ourselves, what would I love? We always ask ourselves, what's practical? What am I expected to do? But those practicalities and expectations are not going to bring you in alignment with your soul's purpose, because you're not doing those things for you. When you follow what would I love, you're squarely in the center of your life, which most of us are taught not to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so if there's a desire in your heart, there has to be a way for that desire to become a reality. And it takes being curious, trying new things, not being afraid to take a risk, and just continue to be curious to find your soul's purpose. It won't be, a flashing neon sign saying, over here it is, your soul's purpose. It's like you have to sort of try and try and try, and maybe it'll be this and maybe it won't be that, but you can't be afraid of making or taking a risk and trying to see where it is that you should go. Everything you do sort of builds on itself, and it will lead you to where you want to go. And I have found that if you don't pay attention to the nudges, because you do have sort of nudges trying to get your attention, you get a sledgehammer. And so pay attention to the nudges and avoid the sledgehammer, because I pushed voices that told me that I wasn't in the right place in my corporate world. I was stuck in the busyness of life, just working crazy hours. And I was so unhappy for decades. And I didn't think that I could do anything else, and that the path that I chose when I was in my 20s. This is the path that I had to keep on in my 50s, even though it was costing me my physical and mental health. I ignored the nudges, and the sledgehammer came when my job was sent to India, and I was forced to deal with what my soul was trying to tell me all along. So get quiet with yourself and listen to those nudges, because they're pushing you in a direction.
I love that. It's a great reminder. And then for anybody who wants to work with you, how can they do so?
Well, you can schedule a free Flip the Switch discovery call with me at The Good Calling. And I would love together with you to find out where you want to go and to help get you there.
Perfect. And do you have any final advice, resources, recommendations that you want to give before we say goodbye to everybody?
I think I just want to remind people who are in this position that it's not your fault. And as I said, you were manipulated, conditioned, targeted, and there's nothing that you could have done to prevent what happened with the awareness you had back then. But you can change your future with the awareness you build now.
Simple, but perfect and important. So thank you so much, Elizabeth, for being here with me today.
Thank you, Rieta. It's been a pleasure.
And this is how to deal when the shit gets real, guys. I will see you all next episode.